welcome to Epiphytic Cacti. I have 6 seedlings here, kind of. What I have are 6 pots, and some of these pots have multiple seedlings in them. I had culled these quite a while ago, but during the last experiment I noticed that when I had pulled some out of the pot, their root system was more than I expected. Having grown Epiphyllum from cuttings many times, I assumed that the seedlings would also develop very small root systems, and I don't think that's necessarily true. So what I kind of wanted to do was, as another experiment, is take these 6 pots and cull them down to just 1 seedling, and then I'm going to transplant them into a little bit of a larger pot, and we'll see if that actually improves their size, which I kind of think it will, but you never know. Maybe they'll grow just as slowly. It's kind of funny because you think like the rule of thumb or the general idea with Epiphyllum that you grow from plants as cuttings is that the more root bound they are, the easier and the better time they have of blooming. But you're not trying to get seedlings to bloom, you're trying to get them to grow. And I think that that was just kind of the mistake that I made. And not that I was trying to get them pot bound or bloom or anything, it's just that from experience with cuttings, I've pulled them out of the pots. I've seen how small their root systems actually are. So I just really made the same assumption here. So if we kind of take one of these out, there we go. And we can see the root system here. It's not like humongous or anything, but it was definitely enough that it was kind of wrapping the pot. I just watered these like 2 days ago. There are 2 seedlings in here, and I'm just gonna kind of pull these guys apart. So I'm gonna take all the soil off of this seedling because I'm not going to keep him. But this is, this is generally kind of like in this little seedling what the root system looked like. Now obviously this one has a much bigger root system. And so that's kind of the thing that I was noticing, is that, there was always going to be this one seedling in the pot that was just going to beat up the other ones. And so this guy was just kind of getting stunted, I think, in his development, because this guy was just kind of taking over. But, obviously this guy here, actually I think there's 2. Sometimes they get really wrapped up in each other, and I think this is a little bit of a mistake on my part to put seedlings together quite like this. There we go. So you can see like this guy has got a better root system for sure than this guy even had. But obviously this is the guy that I'm after because his root system's not humongous for sure, but I don't really want to mess with his root system too much. But he's definitely the one that's growing the best. I like the little seedling stems. This is a 6-inch pot. It's supposed to be. It might actually, maybe it's supposed to be like a 5.5-inch pot. It says 6-inch. So it says it's a 6-inch pot, but this is a very small 6-inch pot. I'm just gonna put a little bit at the bottom. That guy in there. Got my trusty trowel, of course. I'm just gonna take that, fill in around him. There we go. I'm gonna take my seedling tag and I'm gonna put my seedling tag back in there. And then I'm gonna take my little wire hangers. I actually, when I get these pots, these little green pots, I get plastic hangers with them, but I hate the plastic hangers, so I always just use these little wire hangers. And if you're wondering about like where these pots all come from, the white pots that I keep everywhere come from like a greenhouse supply store, and you can Google those. There's just tons of them. And generally they sell those pots in like cases, so like cases of 50 or cases of 100, and you can also get these kinds of hangers from those places. Here we go. So there's one little seedling down. I'm not really going to water these. I'm just going to kind of go hang them back where they belong. And then, as time goes on there, we'll just see how they do. I actually have a ton of seedlings, so I kind of need to figure out how I'm going to deal with that. Sometimes it's just really surprising. This guy didn't even hardly have any soil in there, but I don't know, if you can really see, like, the roots are definitely kind of wrapped around here. And I was just really surprised by that. And You know, this guy is like, he's pretty rooted. Oh gosh. I mean, that's how much roots this little tiny guy had here. Is that a... It's like a weird little seedling that sprouted. Sometimes you'll see that in these pots, like a seedling will sprout like way later. It's because I believe they need sunlight to germinate. So what happens is, like, when you put them in there and then as you water, eventually over time they'll work their way to the surface. So there were, by all appearances, 4 seedlings left in this pot. Oh wow, no, there was even more than that. There was 5. So here's this little guy who just barely did anything. See, you can see there's another little seedling sprout there. Yeah, it's just kind of an odd thing. This guy's also got a little bout of mealybugs. They're outside now though, so like I don't worry too much about the pests when I'm outside, because now there's predators to kind of come after them. There we go. So this is kind of the one that I wanted. So we'll put this guy all alone in his own little pot. So I think some of these, they're Stern von Erlau, and most of these are like X-Nat crosses. These are not anything like spectacular or anything, but because it was my first time really kind of trying to grow Epiphyllum from seed, you know, I just kind of took what I had, and what I had was a whole bunch of just natural crosses, so it's not anything crazy, but I will say that there is something that I have. Look at this guy's root system. Holy cats. This is one plant, and how you can see that that's just one plant here who has just like exploded all of those roots. But that's kind of the thing that I noticed, and it dawned on me that it might not have been any kind of an issue with care more than it was an issue with space inside of the pot to grow. So I figured I'd take some of these guys and just put them in their own little pots, and then, you know, I'll leave some in the little black pots. Plus we have the experiment kids, the fertilizer experiment kids, but I'll leave some of the other guys just in these little black pots, just so we can see, you know, the difference. And oh wow, this guy only has 2. That's not gonna work. No, this guy's suffering some, got all kinds of weird things going on here. This little guy, it's got seedlings all over the place of all different sizes, some just sprouting out. These little tiny seedlings just seems to like, and then this guy here is like rotting and being overwatered, but this is the one that we wanted here. And he doesn't look too bad. Oh, there's 2. There were way more seedlings stuck in these pots than I remembered there being. So, I think lesson learned for me there is that the next time, you know, make sure that I actually call them down to being something, you know, more like 1 seedling in a pot instead of this many seedlings in a pot. And it's hard to watch. I think, for some people it's hard to watch, you know, you like rip these little seedlings out, because it's like, but what if that's the one? What if that's the special one? You know what I found out? That like as you grow these, you end up with so many seedlings that you actually learn how not to care so much about them. Because you end up with so many. Like if you were like me and you planted all of them, oh man, I ended up with so many. So there were quite a few in here that were like, we're gonna take this little guy here. I'm a little concerned about this little guy though. I actually think that I'm going to find a different plant. I don't think I want to use this plant. I think I'm looking at its roots, and what I'm seeing, I believe this guy has mealybugs in his roots. So I am actually just not even gonna bother with that. Oh wow, yeah, he's got a pretty nice little root system going on here. I feel like there are a lot in this guy though. Those mealybugs, they really like the seedlings. It's kind of tough inside with the mealybugs. Towards the end of the season. Indoors, there we go. Gosh, that was so tangled up. Now the question is who do I want? So I think we'll just do this guy. Oops, there they are, the little lone seedlings in their lone little individual pots now. Thank you for watching and happy cacti growing.